Hey guys, your boy Jaden aka Yasu. So I'm gonna go over every character that is currently in the game for Inkshade, and I'm gonna do a tier list. So we have each character. We have the tier ones is the ones I would say are characters you would find in the parlor, and tier two would be characters you start finding upstairs and in the basement, and then I would say tier three are the characters that are more late game focused, like the ones in the projector room, and like um, the ones all the way up in the very top floor, and in the hall kind of thing, maybe. And definitely, spoilers, but like the bosses, right? So I've already made a tier list video, but I'm gonna actually delete that because I have decided I would just straight up just make a tier maker, because going through each one was gonna take a long time. I'd rather just explain it all through this. I already made this list right here for my S tier all the way down to D, and I'll go over each one and why. So the first one is the captain. The captain is obviously one of the greatest characters on here because it is a boss, but it has insane damage for both magic and strength, a lot of life, and of course defense. And then we have the executioner, which has insane damage and it can one shot, which has a great amount of life and still sub defense, which is nice. Guardian, overall, I love it for kiting enemies and keeping them at bay and distracting them. The Monarch is another character that is a boss that, is of course overpowered. Starseer is one of the most busty characters you get mid game that I believe is S tier throughout the entire game because of its insane range and damage. The health and defense is great for it with the movement speed. I think the best character when it comes to just straight up strength is the Wire Weaver because it's insane range and like the damage that it can output is really strong. And then of course, the best character in the game would have to be the Wretch. It has insane movement, great damage, one shot on everything pretty much, insane life, and a good amount of defense with resistance. For the best boss out of the three, which is the Wire Weaver, Monarch, and Captain, I would honestly say the Captain is the best since it can do so much damage. The versatility on the Captain is the best. That's why I would put it at number one. Now for the A tier, the Arbiter is pretty good. I find it to be one of the characters that I wish I used more during my run. I've only used it when I picked it up. Far Shot, I did end up putting this on my team because I felt like the Far Shot was very good at just like obviously shooting from afar. It is basically your archer replacement for late game. Then we have the Rider, which is also a replacement of the Long Step for your late game. So obviously that is A tier. Sky Shot is you get it at the same time as Starseer. However, I feel like Sky Shot is not as good as Starseer, considering I notice more characters have defense than magic resistance. So I think Starseer does have that over it. Void Caller, I put at A tier because honestly, it's very great if you build a team around it. However, you are playing with your life. So there's a chance you will I say like there's a chance that the risk for the reward is there, but you can definitely get the healer, which is later on. Which I feel like the healer is only meant for the void collar. Otherwise, I would not use it. Next one is the dispeller, and I feel like that character is basically just the improved form of the lance, and it's great because it has insane strength with some magic damage, and resistance to magic is good for one path. But I think defense overall, if it had defense, it would easily be a S tier. B tier. So the first B tier we got is gonna be the Archer. And the Archer, it's really good for early game. I highly recommend leveling up the Archer and the Wretch for your early game if you really want to have an easier time. And then the next one would be the Lancer, because the Lancer has good range melee unit, which you can poke units outside of other units' range, and that'd be great for not activating another enemy. So like positioning wise, the Lancer is really good in that state, and it can one shot, and it has good defenses, so you can still use it somewhat like a tank. And then We have Longstep. Longstep is actually one of my favorite characters in the game, but I think it's a B tier because the Rider is just an improved version of the Longstep, and then the Rider is just overall way better than Longstep. Since Longstep does not have one shot capabilities, if resistance was one and the defense was one, it would have been like insanely good, like lower A tier for sure, like throughout the entire game. The Dendrolite. I felt like this character, I wish I used it, and I've only picked it up once. That's why I upgraded just a little bit. But the Dendrolite was really nice to use, and it's really cool how it interacts with the world as well. It's basically just like a tree. The Defender, I feel like the Defender is, you use it right before you get the Guardian. It has great defense, which is really busted, but late game you do want to have that versatility of magic and physical defense. So I'll put Defender at a B tier just because Guardian, you do get it not too long after the Defender. Knight. I did see on the forums on Steam when I did ask people for their thoughts that someone said that the Knight was one of the most busted characters that they use, and I can totally see it. It has two defense, two magic resistance, great movement speed, great range, good damage, and has a lot of life. It has a one shot capability with three damage. The Lycanthrope. Um, I believe this one was a really fun character to use during my run because it was I used it a lot of times to like one shot people early on in the game, like early game, and I felt like it was a really good character that I wish I got earlier. I just didn't realize how to do that puzzle at first. And then we have the Night Slinger. I didn't get to use this character, but I do know that you can shoot through walls with this, which makes it a B tier because I didn't get to use it during my playthrough. But I think the Night Slinger is very versatile. The fact that it has three magic damage, most characters have a defense stat or do defensive damage. So it's like when you have magic damage, there's not many characters that have magic resistance. So it is good to one shot people. It's just that the life makes it not as good. If it had more life, it could possibly even be an A tier. Um, the Punisher. The Punisher, I did end up putting this in B tier because the fact that I felt like it's like the Punisher and the Knight, right? The Punisher is basically like a prerequisite version of like the Knight in a way. Because like I would rather have the defenses over how much damage the Punisher does. But the Knight and the Punisher, they both suffer from there's just better options in S and A tier. Like that, I would rather choose over those two. And same goes for the Sorcerer, where there's just better options. Like I would always take Starseer over Sorcerer, and same for the Night Slinger, and for Punisher and Knight. Just use the Wretch, right? It's just better versions of them. Now for C tier, we have the Apothecos. This guy is basically gonna be your healer for the Void Caller, and I don't really see him being useful for any other role, and that is why I would keep him. Um, I'll keep the Apothecos at a C tier just because it's only going to be helping the Void Caller. It's not going to be helping any others. Now, Corsair. This guy was annoying to fight against. However, he only has two life, which I feel like it's not that good because if you were to get hit by a physical attack, most characters have at least two physical damage. So he's probably gonna die very early. So that's why I put it in C tier. I was gonna put him D tier. However, I do like his movement speed and range, considering and his attack is kind of cool that he shoots like a raven. The Mortem. I do not know how to use this character. I never used it, but it is, um, overall like it's not too bad, but there is definitely better options, and that's what you're gonna notice is like each tier. I feel like I would take that tier over the tier below it every single time because like if I had to make a starting six, it would always be maybe people from S tier and interchange maybe the Guardian with the Executioner because that was my final team. My final team was Captain Guardian, Monarch, Starseer, Weaver, and Wretch. And I would always change Guardian with Executioner, like depending on what it looked like my team can handle. And if I ever needed to switch somebody, like if I want to make it harder on myself, I would always choose the A tier characters over the B tier. And you know, for the C tiers, um, basically the same. I would always choose characters above it. So the occultist, for example, I would choose Night Slinger over that anytime. And if I were not going to choose the Night Slinger, I'd rather have the Starseer. And this is kind of like my mentality going into this tier list was what characters would I choose over another? Early game, I feel like the Squire is really good. However, I did not get to use it. Um, but I feel like the one defense is actually really strong for the early game. It just doesn't have one shot capabilities, and that's why I left it in C tier. Because honestly, like it's good to have it, but at that point you just get any other character that has a defense. Like literally, the Lancer is just better, and you get the Lancer not too long after you get the Squire. Um, Now for D tier, these are characters I just believe are not good like at all overall. So the acolyte does nothing different. I feel like the acolyte is the definition of a D tier character. It cannot one shot people. It has a resistance but no defense. The health is decent, movement is decent, range is a one. The Flamemancer is a late game character, I would say, but even though his one shot capabilities, the life is too small and no defense, no resistance. He's taking pure damage to the health, and that is not something you want mid to late game because the difficulty ramps up depending on how much money you spend. So I feel like the Flamemancer suffers in that aspect, and same that goes for the Hunter. Is like having two health but no resistance. You have to be perfect at eliminating your targets. Now we get the Knife Thrower. Same thing. The Knife Thrower only has two health. He can one shot, but it just suffers from getting one shot back, and I feel like that's something that I cannot have on my team. The Sailtist. I also gave this a D tier, even though it can one shot and it has good health, good movement speed. Overall, I would rather take any other character above it. And I did use the Sailtist, and I did like him. It's just I just feel like it's just an improved version of the Acolyte, but I would rather have a Lancer or a Long Step over the Sailtist anytime. And you do get them not too long after you have the Sailtist. Now for the Scholar. 2 health and 2 damage. I would take the Occultist over it anytime. And I would also take, the Night Slinger over it. So whenever you do use a character, I would rather choose the Occultist over the Scholar, and you do get them around the same time. Villager is kind of like the Acolyte because they both are like the first unit you get from those respective groups. The Villager can one shot, has good health and good movement. It's just there's faster replacements. You get the Lancer and Longstep very early on into the game. I would rather choose that. Illuminary, very good as like a tank for early game. However, I don't see the purpose of using it beyond early game since it can only do 1 damage, so it's never going to kill anything. You just run it in as your very early game defender, and when you get to mid tier, mid game, you will switch to the defender, and then for end game, you would have the guardian. So I hope this helps you choosing your characters for Inkshade. Thank you all for joining me here. And if you ever need help on the puzzles or you want to see a playthrough, go ahead and check out my YouTube channel. I have all of the guides uploaded on how to complete every puzzle. I really love this indie game. I've already beaten it twice, but I'm still trying to do 100% speed run, um, you know, of the game. But I want to 100% the achievements soon. So I plan to do that on stream on Twitch. Would be Yasu Valkyrie, and my YouTube Jaden aka Yasu. I would really appreciate it if you guys would like and subscribe and follow for more. Thank you.